Did y'all know that soil makes noise, like in real life? Did anybody? Anybody hear that on NPR this last week? No, just me? Soil, okay, some of you did. Soil makes noise. No, it really does. There are researchers that are working on how to listen to soil with tiny microphones that you can put down in the dirt, and they can hear the health of the soil by how it sounds. Isn't that crazy? Like, I guess it's something to do with healthy soil. Maybe you're getting little earthworm noises. I don't know. Maybe you're getting more plant roots moving around. I don't think if you put your ear to the soil, you can tell. Maybe some of you have really good hearing. But soil makes noise. Soil speaks, even now. And this is a kind of scientific project that's been ongoing and is continuing. It's a much cheaper way to figure out the health of soil than the other kind of methods that take a long time and are really invasive and are very expensive. We just need to listen to it, it turns out. Soil speaks. And maybe that shouldn't feel so wild, right? Maybe we shouldn't be surprised. Of course, soil is speaking in the very beginning of our holy book, isn't it? Today we heard the story of the first murder, right? So there are some funny parts and some less than funny parts in that text, for sure. Cain kills his brother Abel, and when God comes looking for him, "Where is your brother?" What does Cain say? "Am I my brother's keeper? Your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground," God says. The soil cries out on Abel's behalf. The ground opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand, the text says. And so the ground will no longer yield to you its strength. You will be disconnected from what was your livelihood, your identity. In our holy scriptures, the earth is a character in them. Not something dead that things happen on top of, but the earth is animate. The earth has agency. The earth knows what we are putting in it, and it testifies against us. "You have driven me away from the soil. My punishment is greater than I can bear," Cain says. The connection that he has to the earth is everything. And even more upset than the disconnection from his brother is his reaction to this disconnection from the land. Now, we've already seen an example, another story about the fractured relationship between the land and humans right before this one. You remember the story of Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel's parents, in the garden. In this story, we have the earth and we have the earthling that is taken out of it, a deep connection. Adam, taken out of Adamah, right? The earth person taken from the earth. And then they, even as deeply connected as they are disconnected because of humanity's disobedience in that story. The ground is cursed in that story. It bears no blame in what goes down, but it carries the burden of humanity's disobedience. Today's story is similar, right? It's the next generation, but this time they are disconnected from the land not because of disobedience per se, but because of violence. This is what disconnects Cain from the land. And this time, it's not the land that is cursed. It's the human. It's the land tiller that gets the curse. Cain, the tiller of the ground, is cursed. The ground is his accuser. The ground speaks up, indicting him. They end up with the same disconnectedness, but in this story, the ground has agency. The ground has a voice. When God asks Cain, "Where is your brother?" and Cain rejects his role as his brother's keeper, the ground takes that role on. The ground opens up its mouth and receives the blood of Abel. The ground becomes Abel's keeper. The ground becomes all of our keepers at some point, right? Now, the storytellers want us to know, right, in this ancient story, that he's not only torn apart from his brother, he's torn apart from the land, which is his gift. It's his responsibility. It's his identity. And Cain felt what a tear in the fabric of his being that this was. The connection to the earth was everything to him. He's ready to die himself because of this rending. It is very dramatic in our text if you go back and read it again. His whole purpose and identity was as the one who tends the earth, right? His brother was tending to the flocks, and he was the grower of things from the earth. His job was to care for and nurture and work with the earth, producing food, producing shelter, producing all kinds of things for this new family. And now he is cursed to wander. The ground will no longer work with him. He sets out to wander. Imagine for a second, 'cause I don't know if any of you are farmers, so you may not realize how big of a deal this is. Is anybody a farmer or has been? Maybe Paul's the closest we've got a ranch with some cows. But if you're not a farmer, imagine being separated from whatever the thing is in your life that your whole life is about. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your motherhood. Maybe it's your vocation. What is the thing that your identity is built around, for better or worse? And imagine that being separated from that. This is how this feels to Cain. This is what this story is about, a great separation. And this is an excruciating disconnection. Most of us have a hard time imagining that because we are more disconnected from the land, right, than ever. More disconnected than all of human history, probably. We don't know where our food comes from half the time. We have to make sure that our kids know that eggs come from chickens, not just the grocery store, right? Things like that. We're more disconnected from the land than ever, so we don't feel the effect of that disconnect, even though that disconnect is still here. You may have heard people talk about the curse of Cain as if that's something for some particular group of people. This is a story about humanity. This is a story about all of us, as are all the stories in here, right? So we may feel that disconnection like Cain did because we are so far gone from that being an important part of our lives for most of us. Or maybe we do feel it, but we don't know that that's what it is, right? I wonder how much of our own loneliness, disconnectedness, depression is coming from that disconnection from the earth that we just don't even know that that's where it's coming from. When we think about creation care, which we know is important, we can all agree on that here, right? That's not controversial. When we think about climate change, it feels like a thing that is far away, right? It feels like a thing that is too big. It feels like nature and creation is out there somewhere, and we know we're destroying it, and we know we should do better, but it's kind of amorphous a lot of times for many of us. We know we have a problem. We might even know what to do, but it's so far away from us, it feels. We're not connected. Becca reminded us last week in her sermon that kicked this series off that we care about what we're connected to, right? We know that this is true. There are tons of examples of, changing our mind about LGBTQ inclusion because someone in your family comes out, right? Or changing your mind about women in ministry because your daughter decides she wants to become a preacher, or changing your mind about how you think about unhoused folks because you volunteer at God's Family Dinner and get to know people, and how that is just a truth. And it may be an indictment against us a little bit that it takes that. We have to go to the border and meet immigrant families to then care about what's happening to them. Because the reality is we're all already connected, and it's the same thing with creation. It doesn't need to, maybe it's when our river is being polluted by big oil, then we will care. But it shouldn't take that. We care about things that we are connected to. And so even though I'm not an expert on climate crisis or what we should do about that, we all know where to get that information. We all know what steps that we can take. But we don't take them because we are disconnected, right? We're disconnected from each other, from the earth, and this keeps us inactive. This keeps us from acting, from taking our care to another level. As long as it feels big and out there, it's hard for us to do anything than feel overwhelmed. So we may not have something important to say as Christians that is different or that goes alongside all of our climate scientists and all of the people who are activists for protecting our rivers and lakes. And that is the truth of the gospel, that we are connected. That we are connected to creation, that our relationships with it are broken, yes, but that we still belong to the dirt beneath us. We can still connect with it, and it's a part of our holy tradition to do that. We belong to each other, earth and earthlings. We're not separate, although miles of sidewalk and asphalt and high-rises may make us forget, right? But what we can offer, what we as followers of Jesus can do, and what we are called to do, is the work of remembering, right? Remembering that connection that is deep within ourselves, that is deep in our faith tradition, though we may not hear it very often, that is in our work to heal what has been broken. We can learn about reconnecting with the earth from our own tradition, right? From Adam and Eve and the importance of that connection, to the ways that we've seen it broken and the earth crying out against us, to the covenants that God makes with God's people. How many of you knew that the land, the earth, is a part of that covenant? It's a three-way agreement. God and God's people and the earth in Leviticus 26. You can check me. The land is a partner. The land deserves rest and protection and joy. We can keep going in our tradition and see in Joel 2 where God speaks to the land, to the soil. Do not fear, O soil. Be glad and rejoice, God says. The land speaks back in our tradition as well. In Psalm 65, the pastures and hills shout and sing for joy. And go on into the New Testament. Romans 8, creation waits and hopes and groans and longs to be free, longs for its human siblings and partners to come alongside. It's not just our traditions. There are many other traditions that can help us with this creation, especially including our indigenous siblings, who we learned a little bit more about today, and we'll do more of that in the future. But even science tells us that soil speaks, right? We should listen to the earth below us. And I wonder what we would hear if we could put a mic down below the sanctuary, deep down below. What would we hear? What microbes are at work? What life is happening down there? What blood is down there crying out against humanity? Joy is stored from all of those who have come before us. What would we learn about the history of our land and the ways that this land connects to all other land? We may try to build walls and borders on top of it, but we're not digging down underneath, right? The whole earth is connected and is alive and speaks. We are a part of that conversation, or we can be if we can remember. Not just that there's a vague notion of supporting creation care out there, but that the real dirt right here has a story to tell. This dirt out in the courtyard that we brought some in today, I'm actually going to go down and speak with it. It was difficult to bring in because our courtyard is full of gravel. It's very dry this week, so Arnold saw me walking in with my purse and a shovel and was laughing at me yesterday. But we brought some in. This is our dirt, and I imagine if we listen to it, it might not be all that healthy, but it's good for us to hear. Gravel and weeds, some pieces of children's candy from Easter hunts of long ago. It tells a story. This is the earth that hears us right now, that feels the vibrations of the organ right out there past those windows. This is the earth that knows our children's footsteps. This is the earth that cares for students across the street when they needed a place to come, a safe place for respite. This is the earth that grows grass miraculously. When you come and see this, I don't know how, but the earth is tenacious. However broken our relationship with the earth is, we are still siblings. We are made of the same stuff, and we are called to remember that connection and then go forth from there. So today you are invited to remember and to know the divine that is here and with us in the dirt, to be curious about the stories that it holds, to listen for what the divine might be telling you when you come and feel this. When's the last time you put your hands in the dirt? Maybe for some of you, it's been longer than others. When is the last time that you listened to the dirt and asked God what it might be saying? Has anyone done that? You don't have to raise your hand. Yes, good, okay. For most of us, we may not have thought of that. Yes, so today, that's what you're going to be invited to do. I'm going to invite you during our hymn of response to come forward and just put your hands in the dirt. Take a pebble of gravel if you want to remind you of that story. Don't worry if you make a mess. Arnold will forgive us. It'll be okay. But ask God what this soil might be telling us and what the history of this place is and how that might tell us about God's care for all of creation and our part in that. So during that hymn, I'll invite you to come forward. You don't have to go one at a time. You can come all around the table and take as much time as you would like, holding, listening to, and touching this, our sacred dirt. Let's pray. God, give us ears to hear the earth's groans. Help us connect to the dirt beneath our feet. Help us to listen, to hear it cry out, and to act accordingly. Amen.